Hi, this is Julie Murphy with Arizona Farm Bureau, and it's Friday. We're about a minute ahead of 10 o'clock, but since it's 10 o'clock on a Friday, it's Talk to a Farmer Friday. But we've been doing a chef series, so I feel like we need to be calling this Talk to a Chef Friday. And I am so honored, Jeremy, to talk to you, Jeremy Pacheco. And wow, does this family have a history here in the state of Arizona? In fact, it's Talk to a Farmer Friday, but I'm also going to do Friday morning reading with Julie because I'm going to tell a little bit about your story.
Okay.
But Jeremy, you are the head chef for?
The culinary director for Genuine Concepts.
Okay.
We've got 11 concepts throughout Phoenix, one up on Flagstaff.
And this one is called?
The Genuine.
The Genuine. So, but I have to tell people about your family history because it just melts my heart and makes me so proud to know you guys. So everyone, my theory is this family, I know for sure from Farm Bureau that the Pachecos have the longest farm and ranch history as a member of the Arizona Farm Bureau, probably in the state. So listen to this. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. You're going to have to tolerate me. And by the way, welcome for those that are joining us live. But the Pacheco family probably has one of the oldest farm family histories in Arizona. They arrived from Spain in the 1750s. In 1818, Ignacio Pacheco applied for and was granted registration of the Diamond Bell brand. You mentioned that already just before we started. Possibly one of the first brands registered in Sonora, Mexico, and southern Arizona. I mean, just this wild, amazing history. And that makes you then generationally...
Ninth generation.
The ninth generation. You have two boys.
Yeah.
So they're 10th generation. We don't know if they're going to go into farming. We got to give them a chance to decide what they want to do.
Right.
But
doesn't look that way.
It doesn't look that way. A lot of us, the Murphy family, we got out of farming. But their first forefather, Joseph Pacheco, arrived from Spain. Oh, I already said that. If I'm going to read to you guys, I've got to get to the next thing. Joseph Pacheco's son, Ignacio, was born in the Presidio of Tubac in 1775. In 1826, Ignacio was elected mayor of Tucson, and he happened to be their second mayor. So that's all I'm going to read. I'm just reading the first two graphs of this amazing family, their farm and ranch history. I would encourage you to go to Arizona Farm Bureau, Google Arizona Farm Bureau or azfb.org, and then plug in their name in the search bar. It's spelled Pacheco, and you'll get this whole story. And it's just absolutely amazing, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So for the longest time, I have wanted to interview you just because of your farm background. So before we get into that, your professional life, your chef experiences, tell us about growing up on the farm.
So we grew up on our cotton farm in Marana. Moved out, I think, when I was about kindergarten. So we moved a little into town in Tucson there. But yeah, I mean, I remember surviving the floods in '84, and the flood went right by our house, and
you guys were on a hill,
yeah,
and watching it go by. No.
Yeah, well, we were finally going to take a tractor out and to go into town, and my dad turned around. There's a huge sinkhole. Luckily, we would have fell in a giant sinkhole, the whole tractor and everything. So,
oh wow!
But I mean, that's far back memories of growing up on the farm. And then it was, first job was pulling weeds in the cotton fields over the summer. We were talking about that earlier, and what a lovely job that is, and probably why I'm not a farmer today.
Right, but then you transition to this chef lifestyle, right? I swear you guys work just as hard.
Yeah, it's not any easier. I have a friend that I worked with at the Phoenician, and I was the morning sous chef there at the Phoenician, so I was there at 4 a.m. every day and working 13-hour days. And he said, "No, you didn't want to farm because you didn't want to be waking up early and long days and around the heat. You really made it the right choice there, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, I guess it."
That's funny.
Yeah, it can pretty parallel as far as it's hard work. It's all hard work.
So what was the most defining memory? Obviously, and that's scary. You wouldn't be here today if you guys would have moved forward, but there was that flood. They were going to do some grading, try to get it out, and you decided to just turn around and go back. Otherwise, you would have ended up in a sinkhole.
Yeah.
But, because that's a defining moment for sure.
Right.
But what to you is another defining moment about growing up on the farm?
I think just realizing what goes into everything
Yeah.
has really affected me throughout my career. Is the amount of work that it takes, to make our clothing,
Right.
and all of it goes into that, and how long it takes to grow the plants and the wheat and everything else. And I think that's really what's given me appreciation for the farming and the produce that we use every day is what it takes for the farmers to get it to the process, the final product.
That's awesome. And your cousin is Daniel Pacheco.
Yeah.
Want to give him props?
Yeah.
Because he's always been very involved in Arizona Farm Bureau, but more importantly, the Pima County Farm Bureau, Pima and Santa Cruz County Farm Bureau. And he's just a rock star. In fact, the part of that history that I was reading from our website is thanks to Daniel sending me some of the history, and then I did a Q&A below the history as a Q&A with he and I, and I just love your family, and I'm very proud of everything that you've done. It's amazing. So you guys kind of grew up together.
Yeah, we worked on the farm in the summers.
Yeah.
He, my brother, and I a lot. We really destroyed a lot of farm equipment in those days. We finally progressed from pulling weeds to driving the tractors, and I think I mixed the chemicals to spray, and my brother was driving the tractor, and we broke so many nozzles and stuff off those tractors.
It's
and
like, Dad,
know,
sorry, but
no, and Dan still posts, so
yeah,
he's still breaking stuff. It looks like so. And I'm sure he didn't tell you about jumping the ditch in the case tractor.
Oh my gosh,
nodded off or something once. So yeah, we did some damage out there for sure.
Well, we've got some stories like that. Dukes of Hazzard on the dirt roads. Dukes of Hazzard kind of driving in an old Chevy, 67 Chevy that had no back window, no driver's door, stick shift, and playing the wheel that you have to go like this to make a turn. And I'm kind of surprised we survived.
Yeah, there's some dumb stuff we did.
Yeah, we called that our irrigation truck, the irrigation truck, because it was so beat up. We had to keep it on the farm.
Yeah.
It was.
No, we had a truck like that. That's how I learned how to drive stick shift was, one of those farm trucks. So.
I love it. So are you and Daniel close to the same age?
No, he's older. He's actually the oldest of all the cousins in our family. So.
And he's the one that fell in love with farming and stuck to it?
Yeah, my brother got out of it fairly quickly too. He's a aircraft mechanic.
Oh, cool.
He's on Coronado Island, so he works for the Navy.
Oh, wow.
But civilian.
Cool. Okay. And anywhere we go in Arizona, if we run into the Pacheco, or what's the other name on your grandma's?
Gary's on my grandfather's side.
So most likely you're related to them.
Yeah, somewhere.
You were telling me about one of your family reunions, and you said it was kind of small. There was 100 people. He said, but if you include, you told me if you include the other side of the family, it can explode. And
yeah, I remember in Red Rock on the ranch there, having some really big family reunions. So
wow.
It was a lot of fun.
So let's transition now. You said, no way, I don't want to be doing this on the farm, jumping ditches with tractors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not going to do that anymore. But what inspired your chef dreams? And then you're an award-winning chef or well-known chef.
Well, I kind of fell into it. Like I was telling you earlier, I was pulling weeds and working on the farm, and then it was mostly motivation to buy a car. So at 16 years old, I got a job washing dishes at the Sheraton El Conquistador in Tucson, and
awesome.
I think in the summers I would work on the farm in the morning and then go wash the dishes there at night, and I just desired to make some money, really. And then it kind of got in my blood, the cooking in the kitchen. I know once it gets in your blood, you're stuck sometimes.
You're hooked.
Yeah. Like I said, I worked my way up to 16 years old to lead cook there at the steakhouse, the Last Territory Steakhouse. And
oh, cool.
I didn't even realize there was a school for cooking, and until one of the guys I was working with there went to New York to the CIA and went to culinary school. And I said, I guess maybe this is something I want to do. I think I graduated high school and wasn't sure what my path was going to be. I'd taken some classes at Pima Community College and told my dad I wanted to take a year off, and he said, no, you're not, because he knew what kind of trouble I'd be getting into at that age. So, I did a little research, and I found Scottsdale Culinary Institute at the time, and I moved up here and went to culinary school. I worked full-time at the Phoenician. Actually, that gentleman that I said went to CIA for culinary school, he was actually back in town, and somehow we'd reconnected. And he was doing his internship at the Phoenician. He said, "This is the only place to work. The only place to work that you got it." So I called that chef, and when I started culinary school, they said, "Oh, you only want to work part time. It's going to be a heavy workload." And I'm like, okay. And I started school. It's a piece of cake, and but I'd called him for a part time job, and he's like, "I don't hire part time." I called him every day for a week until he hired me, and I ended up working 7 years there. I left that restaurant as the chef cuisine.
And you said CIA, not the CIA. It's a three-letter organization, not the
Culinary Institute of America
in
Hyde Park, New York. So it's
really cool.
Yeah, it's probably the most renowned culinary school in the country. So.
And all your chef culinary gurus would have known that. Apologize, but for any of us that are joining, kind of station identification break here, this is Julie Murphy and Jeremy Pacheco. We're at the Genuine restaurant here in downtown Phoenix.
Yeah,
right? Well, not downtown Phoenix,
it's called Uptown. So
Uptown, Uptown Phoenix. So good stuff to talk about. And if you have any questions for Jeremy, go ahead and post it, or any comments. We welcome them. But this is one of the restaurants that he covers. And how many altogether?
It's 11 with our group.
Okay.
Restaurants and bars. So the VIG is our main brand.
The VIG.
We currently have 6 VIGs throughout Phoenix, 2 in Scottsdale, the original in Arcadia, downtown, North Central, which is not far from here, and our newest one is in Peoria, and we should be opening early next year in Mesa Gilbert area, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, and I already told Scott, your colleague that you work with, that I've got to come here and try this spot now that I've discovered it. Now that I found you, again, I kind of first knew you when you were at the Hermosa, the head chef for Lon's, correct?
Yep.
And we did a celebrity Q&A with you and put it on our Fill Your Plate, fillyourplate.org, by the way, if anybody's curious. And we still have all of those interviews up. I haven't done them for some time. And then just because I know Daniel and we've done the profile, I kept saying, I need to connect with Jeremy and find out more about your story. So you went to the CIA. That's pretty cool.
Well, I went to Scottsdale Culinary, SCI.
But you worked at CIA.
I worked at the Phoenician in Scottsdale. My friend went to Culinary Institute in America.
I get it.
And we reconnected there. I spent 7 years at the Phoenician.
Okay.
Worked my way up to the chef cuisine of the 3-meal restaurant and Italian cuisine, and kind of came to a time after 7 years, something new. And at that point, the Phoenician was the best when I was there, and I was like, what's the next big thing?
Yeah.
And the Wynn in Las Vegas was opening.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
those are amazing.
Yeah.
Places.
What a great experience. So I went and I helped open the Wynn. I was at the SW Steakhouse. And then I did about 3.5 years at the steakhouse, and then did a couple of other things in the hotel. And then I went and opened, Encore was getting ready to open. I went and opened another restaurant at Encore called Society Cafe, which it's not there anymore. I think it's a poker room now, but, I was there from the beginning at the steakhouse, but the opportunity at that restaurant at Encore, I was able to hire every person. I was part of the blueprints. I was going in the building with hard hats. So it was really
awesome.
Like to be able to do it from the ground up in a resort like that was really, I took that opportunity and wanted to do it from the ground up.
And what an experience for you, broadening that whole restaurant concept.
Yeah.
Not just this or not just that, but the whole composition of everything. So then, fast forward a little bit. When did you end up at the Hermosa?
From there, I did about 5 years, and then the position opened up at Hermosa Inn, and I jumped at it, and I got it. And so I did about 3.5 years in at Hermosa Inn. So that brought me back. My wife and I, we got married while she eventually moved to Vegas and joined me, and I got married, and we wanted to get back to Arizona. That's where our family and all our friends were.
Both of you have family here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the first opportunity in a great spot like the Hermosa Inn opened up, like I said, I jumped at it. I think it was my brother that sent me the article that the position had opened, and I said, oh, interesting. And so I jumped at it, like I said, and got it, and was executive chef there, and my first real executive chef position. And it's kind of
awesome.
Was a big move for me, and that's where I really got to focus on using a lot more local product in Arizona. I think that at that point, I think that's 2010 when I got back. And it was really it seemed like it was really starting to blossom with the farmers markets and things like
really
that
was.
at that point. So I was excited to get back, and it was stuff that I was starting to work on in Vegas, but it's a little different working in an environment like that and trying to work closely with farmers and small farms like that. So coming back, it was nice to see that it was really starting to get going.
Yeah. And I can tell your family wanted to get you back here so that they didn't have to haul so long to sit down to one of your, plates and enjoy Jeremy's cooking.
Yeah.
It's all a family affair. With that said, was there anybody in your family that inspired you with cooking? Did you have a grandma that
my grandmother on my mother's side is a fantastic cook. She was originally from Missouri.
Oh, wow.
So, those kind of the soulful, homemade meals. I mean, every Sunday we were over there for supper and, nothing fancy. You put roast pork and mashed potatoes. I mean,
it was just solidly good.
Yeah, really good. And then as far as on my father's side, my mom actually learned how to make tamales from my dad's grandmother.
Okay.
So tamales and beans.
Oh.
And so we've done some of that stuff. I didn't learn that much of it that way. I've kind of come back now, and my dad sourced white corn seeds to make the white corn tamales. And so I've gone and helped him with a batch tamales, cool. But not a whole lot. I mean, we did that as kids, I remember too.
Yeah.
Was making the tamales.
That is so cool.
They'd always do a small plot of corn, the white corn, so we could do the tamales in the fall.
That's awesome. So Joel, do we have anybody that's got any questions for us and made any comments? If not, no biggie.
No questions or comments at the moment.
Cool. So now I'm going to ask you anything else related to, and fast forward, now you're here with this organization and you guys it sounds like you're pretty busy. This location that we're sitting at used to be a bank, correct? And of course then you've made the conversion to a restaurant. It's absolutely lovely. Anything else in that whole span of time and experience that just sticks out for you?
Like I said, I was excited to get back and see the local product that was starting to become available. I went to the Scottsdale Farmers Market, I think then, and I found Wendell Crow of Crow's Dairy selling goat cheese there, and I was amazed at the product. And I was actually Wendell's first wholesale customer at Hermosa.
I love it.
And since now he's almost a household name here in Phoenix,
it really
at least
is.
Like all the top restaurants are using his products, and we still use his goat cheese here at this restaurant and our Italian concept as well. The other thing that really stood out is I think the Zimmermans were starting to revive the Hayden flour mills at that time, and he had a small stand selling some wheat and some ground flours there, and so I started working with him as well. I eventually convinced my dad to set aside some wheat on the Durham wheat harvest, and we did some big totes and sent that to Hayden Mills, and he milled that flour, and I used it directly into the restaurant at Lawns of the Hermosa. So it was a real cool experience. And we talked about McClendon Select, so I used a lot of work with Bob McClendon and Sean McClendon. Mm-hmm. I still do to this day. I text them now, and I'm working on menus to see what's coming available.
Crow's Dairy and McClendon Select, members of Farm Bureau, and we give them props all the time. I'm glad you mentioned them.
Yeah, no, they're great. Some of the other farmers that I started working on was the Rovies.
Oh, yeah.
So the Rovies came to me while I was at Hermosa and asked if I'd be interested. They were, struggling with some selling milk, unfortunately. Right. But they're 100-year-old Jersey farm here in Glendale.
Yep.
But they'd started branching out and raising sheep. And brought me some sheep's milk cheeses that were fine. I think they brought some feta. I'm like, it's not as good as Wendell, sorry. So, but they said, well, would you be interested in lamb? Our byproduct of raising sheep for milk is having all these lamb running around. I said, oh, yeah, of course. So I started using some of their lamb, and they were playing around with crossbreeding some of their cattle with Wagyu.
Oh yeah.
at that time. So we set up a program with them at Hermosa where I got them to break down, I think, 2 steers a week through a slaughterhouse in Buckeye, and we were getting the primals, and then they would work with the rest. So I started doing that as well.
So really, at Lund's then is where you were able to kind of like develop some of these local, artisan value-added farm products from some of our longtime traditional farm families out here in the valley.
Yeah, and really building those relationships,
right?
Which I think obviously is so important,
right?
So yeah, I started working with the Robies there, and it kind of helped them. I found the slaughterhouse for them. They didn't even know where to take it at the time, and I had worked with it through the meat market.
I was going to say, was it so the meat market, and they run a lot of pork through that?
Yeah. And I had gotten some whole pigs before from them.
And are they still right off of Buckeye?
I don't think they're in business anymore.
Okay.
The meat market shop might be down there off Lower Buckeye, right?
Yep.
The slaughterhouse, I think, was separate from that.
Oh, okay.
I know that once I joined this group, I actually was using the ground Wagyu from the Robies at all of our big restaurants.
Oh, so, awesome.
They ended up not being able to keep that production going. So.
Okay. It's tough. It's we love the value-added product that can come out of agriculture, but it's not an easy. And we were talking about infrastructure issues, and one of the biggest one is the harvesting of our meat. We don't have enough regional plants. That's one of the things that we keep trying to work on, and one day hopefully we'll get there.
Part of why I think they had to stop is the challenge of them that the only other place they could find in Arizona was in Wilcox, so they were moving cattle, steer from there to Wilcox, and then having to figure out how to get it back up here, and then figure out how to get it to us. So it's a tough operation for them.
It is. A lot of times, the average consumer like myself will say, well, why don't you just build it? Well, invest millions of dollars into it, and then every processing plant, harvesting plant for meat has to have a full-time USDA inspector on site. So these things, the build out, the infrastructure, the capital that it takes to build it is just really intense. But on that point, and knowing what you did, especially at the Hermosa Inn for the restaurant Lawns, what do you think that Arizona right now is doing right when it comes to the culinary arts?
Well, I think we talked about there's a high focus on the local product, with some of the top restaurants in town for sure. Mm-hmm. I think the farmers markets have gone crazy lately. Yeah. But to see what the McClendons have done, and they're such a great operation. They do the Uptown Farmers Market here right down the road. And the amount that market has grown in the last few years is incredible. It really is. And I think part of why we use the McClendons is so much is because they've kind of built their own internal infrastructure for delivery, and they do such a great job. And that's what
the farmer has to do.
Yeah. It's difficult for us. Our demand is to have the product there, and if the farmer can't get it to us, it's hard to use them. I've used some other guys in the past that
you need the consistency of delivery.
And I unfortunately have had times when I ordered arugula from someone that come filled with aphids, and I'm trying to figure out, and I need it for service that night. Right. So I think that's really why so many of the local chefs are using McClendons, because they've got their from harvest to delivery down in such a great way.
Built out the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Now, Patrick Duncan, there for a while, he had it. I don't know if he's doing it anymore, though.
Not sure. I know it's the Duncan Family Farms had some other stuff going, but
Patrick,
I used Patrick for a while. For sure that relationship.
I'm not quite sure. I thought I heard. So, Patrick, if you ever listen to this, you'll have to let me know. But it seems like someone said that he retired. That's the other thing. There's always this life cycle of how much hard work do you want to do? And then when you ask yourself, what's the ROI that I'm putting into something like that? And it's not easy.
No, not at all.
So it sounds like from your perspective, then Arizona has really been making a little bit more of an effort to really celebrate the local and the restaurants, especially our independent restaurants, are really trying to highlight that and showcase that when
Right.
you can. But you also have to, as a chef, make a business decision.
Right.
If the consistency and the dependability is not there, you have to shift. So
Yeah.
you can't always have 100% guarantee that everything you put on someone's plate is going to be local.
Right.
There's too many other factors that are challenging the process.
No, it'd be really challenging to do 100% local. So, but
Yeah.
we're getting there. I think we're getting better all the time.
Yeah. So on that, so let's then also just talk in terms of the restaurants. To me, what restaurants do for us in the supply chain, and besides eat wonderful food that I could never at your scale of cooking cook, and I love to eat out, they really feature our quality food and how wonderfully expansive we can have our palates experience some of your amazing cooking for all of our chefs that are really doing it right. What do you feel is unique about the restaurant business here in Arizona? Why is it special for me to celebrate restaurants like this compared to maybe if I was in California?
Well, I think, like you said, some of the independence of it all.
Okay.
The thing that I found, when I was at Hermosa, I was there for about 3.5 years, and they taught me into going back to Vegas for 2 years. And when I went back, I missed the sense of community.
Yeah, sure.
And the community between the chefs, I think it was real tight.
Right.
And especially those of the chefs that were really focused on doing the local food and local product.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go to Las Vegas and the huge hotels, it's hard to, I worked with hundreds of great chefs just within that hotel, but I really felt like the sense of community within, our restaurants here in town is different. And it was important. I missed it. I craved it, and that's why I think after 2 years, I said, I'm out of here. I came back and, again, just focused on using as much of the local products as I could find. I think I came back. I was getting some Mangalista pigs out of Gilbert. For a while.
I've heard about.
Yeah.
I heard about that. And what's so special about that?
So it's a long-haired
okay
pig, kind of similar to the Iberico pig from Spain.
Okay.
Pretty high fat content, and it was a fun product to work with.
A real tasty meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. We had. I'm not doing it anymore, so I can't get in trouble. But we had prosciutto legs hanging down in the wine cellar there, and we were doing some salamis and charcuterie
awesome.
and stuff like that. And then it was like using the whole pig, so we tubbed hard. Really, finally, my chef's like, I don't know what we did. We got pig parts everywhere.
I don't know what we're going to do with this.
So it was a lot of fun. Though. It was a cool experience.
That is so neat.
All that stuff.
Well, and that's the other thing I think that you discover as a chef, like with the opportunities based on what your menu is and everything else that you're having to factor in and take care of and deal with and worry about. When you find an opportunity to feature something that's really unique, this is really, that's why they call it the culinary arts. This is the place to do that. So, we need to celebrate and highlight our restaurants and consider all those important things that go into it.
Right.
So then also, and I've been asking all the chefs this questions, what do you see as the major trends in cooking? And again, especially in the restaurant business.
Current trends.
Just good food.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's. I think it's. I guess a lot of fusion going on.
Okay.
I think especially at this restaurant, it was open to kind of highlight just kind of having fun with food.
Right.
I think there's a lot of that going on as well. The VIGs is our chain basically. It's our growth vehicle. This was actually a VIG. This was the second VIG location.
Okay.
And then we decided once I joined after about 1.5 years to flip and rebrand it and remodel it. So this is kind of my place to have a little more fun than what we were doing at the VIGs. And so we put a wood burning pizza oven here and can just highlight more of the local products here a little more. So
that's cool.
I think that's what we've done with this restaurant is we have fun with our food and it highlights some different products and different availability of some seasonal stuff. And we'll work with the McClendons a little bit more at this restaurant in particular on doing some seasonal items.
Because they're not very far from that farmer's market anyway.
No.
So, Joel, how are we doing? Any comments or questions?
We're doing good. I have a comments last question. I saw you guys have a dog-friendly patio.
Yes.
That a little bit.
Yeah.
All of our locations we've made dog friendly. I mean, I guess talking as trends, it's people like to bring their dogs everywhere now. So
the patio is dog friendly.
Yeah, at this location, and all 6 of our big locations are as well.
Joel, do a 360, and because they should still be able to, if you just take it, and you and I can still talk. Okay. So where we're sitting in the restaurant in the Genuine, straight back on the other side of the bar is the talk about the pizza place again.
So we actually opened that. Used to be a storeroom, so we opened that up. So built an open kitchen there, put that wood burning pizza oven in. And we do not just pizza in there. We do oven roasted cauliflower. We do our chicken wings out of there. We were doing some steaks out of there. I'm not doing it right now. Some langoustine and stuff like that. So the focus was, wanted to be that wood burning oven. But not necessarily just being a pizza place.
Right.
So we do fresh pastas in house as well. So we've got a pasta extruder. We're doing fresh pastas.
Oh, awesome.
As well.
Man, and I haven't been here yet. I will come, I promise.
And like you mentioned, it used to be a bank, so it was built in the 60s, the Ralph Haver design. The architecture.
Is this something that's original from?
No, this isn't original, but actually the back bar is original.
Okay.
And that actually used to be the bank vault.
Oh, wow.
So, and like I said, it's a Ralph Haver design, so it's the mid-century modern design. It's really almost built like a freeway bridge. It's all concrete. So it's almost an open canvas for us when we wanted to remodel. So when it was a lot darker, and they had some of the stained glass covered. And we really wanted to highlight how cool and unique the restaurant was when we did it. When they bought this location to make it as a Bank of America call center.
Okay.
And actually that cool bank vault was actually all covered up with drywall. They didn't even know it was there until they started, digging in and pulling some drywall off, and they found that. So that became the back bar, and the vault itself is actually the beer cooler. So it's our keg cooler, and our alcohol is stored in there. We can lock it up in the vault, and like I said, and that's how it was when it was a VIG, and when we remodeled, we really wanted to pull it down to the roots and
I love it.
Celebrate how cool the building is.
It sort of does have a little bit of the 60s, 70s vibe.
Yeah.
And part of it is the stained glass window that if people were paying attention when Joel panned around, then...
No, that's what's cool. That's original.
That is so neat. I love stuff like that. And that's a backstory that makes it a little bit more special.
Right.
So... I always end on this, Jeremy. As a chef, and if you're talking to just the average John Doe, Jane Doe, and they want to get a little bit better in the kitchen at home, they want to be the in-home chef a little bit more, what's the best tip that you give someone as a chef? Or tips or whatever.
And in relation to this, in particular, go to your farmer's market and find great product, and don't overthink it at that point. If you get great, we were talking about seasonality of the fruits and vegetables. Especially in Arizona, you're going to find the seasonal fruits and vegetables, but celebrate that. I go to the farmer's market and get excited at all the different melons and the greens and that kind of stuff that's available in summer. And I'm excited. I get excited for fall now because especially the McClendons have probably, I think, 8 or 9 different fall, winter squashes, the hard squashes that are going to be available right now. So it's excited with that. And I think if you have great product, you don't have to overthink it. Just great olive, great olive oil, great greens, and
maybe try to your point, maybe try something that you haven't tried before. I love it. You can tell somebody when they're a really good cook, when they just start looking at things and it's so random and what they put in there. I have a friend that's a really good cook. She does, actually 2 that do this, and they'll just pick up something random. And I said, have you ever cooked that? And they said, no, but I think we can figure it out.
I think that might be challenging to some people, or they're intimidated by it. But, worst case, it doesn't taste good. You throw it away and try over, But we used to do that, actually. We really hit on the wine. The Arizona wine programs that I've worked a lot with, like Sam Pillsbury and the Callahans and stuff, and Wilcox. There's such great.
Talk to them on a regular basis. Sam is just a kick.
He's awesome, and we used to do. We didn't do it the last 2 years, but he would do his harvest festival on Labor Day weekend, and I'd go down there with a couple other chefs, and we would drive around Wilcox and just find products and cook it, you know.
Yeah.
And we really didn't have a set menu until we got there, but we wanted everything to be regional, and we cooked for about 70 to 100 people right there in the vineyard, and it's so cool. And like Wilcox is eye opening to me to just see how much is available out of there. And you know, you said I think that a lot of people think Arizona is just a dry desert and don't realize how bountiful it is, especially with those different regions when you get into that.
You are so right. So what you said about going to the farmer's market and trying something new or different, we always tell people that, you know, we have 300 plus days of sunshine, so that means we're planting and harvesting 12 months out of the year. We average an array of crops and livestock numbers in the 200s, and Bob McClendon, this was years ago, he's been my inspiration for a lot of things in what I do at Farm Bureau, but I was talking to Bob McClendon, and I just kind of dropped that number, and he said, Julie, on my farm alone, you count every variety of arugula, every variety of squash. You said 8 to 10 different types of squash. He says, I'm easily sometimes producing, you know, in a given year, 250 different types of fruits and vegetables because of the lineup within just one type of fruit or vegetable.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, for us here in Arizona, we can do so much with our agriculture. We've got to keep doing it. And individuals like you, Jeremy, are going to inspire us to keep doing it. So
hopefully.
Thank you so much for this interview. And a question.
I do have one comment for W. Minty. They wanted to thank you for your support of the Arizona 4-H. Reminder of the Healthy Living program that 4-H offers, and they would like the location of the restaurant again.
Oh, yes.
So I guess we're going to give the exact. It's 16th Street in Bethany Home, in uptown area. It's right off the 51 in Bethany Home.
It's real easy to get here. It's kind of a discreet location. Remember, this used to be a bank, so and it's the first time I came here, so I overshot it. The GPS said 50 feet away, 40 feet away. Oops, you must have turned around. So, but it's a beautiful location when you step inside, and it's the place you want to be for good food.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. And for all of you, blessings to you, and we'll see you next Friday.